Hello, Money Multipliers. Welcome back to another episode of the Money Multiplier podcast. I'm your host, Hannah Kessler, and we ask ourselves, do our dollars make sense? So I am back home in Florida now. So I just got done with my 6-week road trip adventures. And then actually this weekend, Dad and I were going to be going out to Hawaii for a really cool event. So he actually even extended the trip. We're going to be on Maui for a little bit, and then we're going to go to Kauai. And I've never been to Hawaii before, so I'm kind of excited for that trip. We're going to spend some family time out there. But the studio is not done yet. We got some things that are coming in the mail, and I'm gonna have my good girlfriend Maddie come back here to Florida and help me set everything up. But I'm excited for y'all to see the new progress over here at my new place. But anyways, in today's episode, I actually have a really cool guest on today. So his name is Justin Lofty, and I think I'm pronouncing that right. He can correct me here in a second. But Justin, I appreciate you for being on here today. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited for you to go to Hawaii. Hawaii's got a special place in my heart.
Yeah.
My wife and I went last year, went to both Kona and Kauai, and
Okay.
we loved it.
It just visiting, or do you ever live out there?
No, I've never lived out there, but I'll tell you, I decided to quit my job in Hawaii. My wife and I was working 9 to 5 as a COO of this company, and I had just kind of gotten started in real estate, and I was trying to figure out if I wanted to stay at my job or go full speed into entrepreneurship. And my wife and I, we went out to Hawaii on a family trip, and at the Kona Brewery, sat down, us and the two girls, like, all right, we're gonna do this. Like, all right, let's go all in. And so we made that decision there. So that's a special place for me, and I love it.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for you.
And actually, that's kind of ringing bells because get this, I read your book, Never Outworked. So y'all go and get this. I'm pretty sure it's on Amazon. But I remember you talking about that at the very end of the book, how y'all were sitting at the brewing company, and then that was your mission of, all right, I think we should go full-time real estate entrepreneurship. And that was the time when is when y'all were in Hawaii. So.
Yeah, over beers and pizza.
Now, why the title Never Outworks? Because I even see that neon sign behind you. What came to that conclusion of that name?
Never outworked is something I stole from my older brother, Nick. When I was first looking to enlist in the military, he had already done it 2 years prior. And so I went over to his house and said, hey, I'm thinking about enlisting in the military. Can you kind of tell me a little about it? And on his wall in his bedroom, he had this piece of paper said, never be outworked, because he had enlisted as an intelligence specialist and he had the goal to become a pilot. He told me he couldn't, determine what the board was going to be. He couldn't determine how many pilots they were going to hire that year. The only thing he could determine was how much like work he was going to put forth. And so every day he'd see that and remind him that. And he became one of the best fighter pilots in the Air Force today. But that was something I stole and I kept, so when I went into the Air Force, I decided I wanted to go to the Air Force Academy. I taped that same sign to my wall. When I decided I wanted to run my own business, I taped that same sign to my bathroom vanity. And so it's something I've just kind of kept no matter what it was I was going after.
Yeah, because you can never outwork yourself. No, I like that. And it keeps your passion, your desire, and your drive to keep going too, even when you have those crappy days.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to come, especially if you want to own your own business or whatever it is you're going into. Like you'll
Yeah,
always have crappy days, but just
yeah.
comes down to you.
And you were so you grew up in Philadelphia, and you're kind of, I want to say the term almost like rags to riches, right? But I know that's kind of a cheesy saying. And I know you had the story of your poor dad and then also your rich dad, and then you went into the armed forces, and you like actually went into almost all of the branches. Is that right?
Well, my dad, so he immigrated here from Egypt in the 70s and then enlisted in the Air Force and when he turned 17. And so as most teenagers do, I didn't want to do the same thing that my dad did. I was like, I don't want to join the Air Force. I'm going to join any other branch.
Mhm.
And so first I tried to join the Navy because I was really good at swimming. Thought that was logical, Navy, swimming. But the recruiter lied to me about how to get college paid for. And so that just completely turned me off. I said, well, nope, they don't want to do that. And then I went to join the Army And that guy would just call me all the time, said, "Hey, are you gonna come in? Like, when are you gonna sign up? I'll come pick you up." And that was a little off-putting to me. And so the Air Force guy was the only dude who was really honest with me about what was available and the process and the timeline. And I said, okay, I guess we'll join the Air Force then.
Yeah.
But I tried everything else first.
Yeah. Yeah. Before going there. Yeah. And then right now, because now you're out of the armed forces, and actually, we were kind of talking right before you came on about you raising some money for this hedge fund that you're doing. I mean, what else are you doing within the real estate space? I mean, are you a wholesaler? Do you do fix and flips? I mean, what are you up to right now?
So we did wholesaling for a bit, and we still have a couple properties out there that are just trickling out. I don't actively wholesale anymore. My main focus really is in raising funds for hedge funds. And what we do is we have two. So one is a single family home fund, which is $10 million worth of properties. So it allows people to really passively invest and still have all the benefits of investing in real estate. And then the other, which I really loved, was a debt validation fund where we buy up credit card debt from creditors and help people get out of debt, which also creates massive returns on both ends. So it's a win for everybody. But this was something I never really imagined myself getting into. I started out just wholesaling, and that turned out really well and kind of good enough that we could have that discussion of, okay, let's go full time into this.
Okay. Now, why the switch? Why the switch from the wholesaling to the hedge funds?
I think it just comes down to growth.
Mhm.
We I had dinner with a good friend of mine, Matt, and him and I were really talking about the different businesses and different avenues of real estate. And wholesaling is a great place to start, but I don't think most people stay there. A lot of people will go from wholesaling to flipping to, investing in single family, multifamily, and then kind of work your way up through this system. And generally, the last step of that would be capital raising or fundraising. And this got presented to me because I did wholesaling for Matt. He had all these properties that he wanted me to get rid of, and then he was really impressed with the work there. So he said, "Hey, look, I'm raising these funds. Why don't you come on and help us do that?" And I jumped at the opportunity because I loved working with him, and it was just a point for me to grow.
Yeah. Yep. Are you seeing right now? Because actually, we're here in 2024. It's an election year. I actually, at the time of this recording, it's tax season too. Are you seeing kind of like a slowdown with the capital raising right now?
I mean, we'll see because it's always person dependent.
Yeah.
I don't find it as dependent on the market as I do on where somebody is. And so there's always capital out there. There's always people who are looking to invest. I just got off the call with somebody yesterday who was calling me about a wholesale that was still like on the market. But then we started talking about this fund and he was like, "Oh, I'm really interested in that too." So it just depends on where you are. And if you're all done with your taxes, then you're probably looking, okay, what's next to invest in? How can I multiply my money?
Yeah. No, it's yeah, exactly. And especially too, like right now where folks are, I get a lot of people who come to me and most of the people that show up at our front door here at the Money Multiplier, I mean, they're in debt. They hear my dad's story about how he had almost $1 million of debt, and by implementing this infinite banking concept, he was able to pay off that debt in 39 months. So people come to us and they say, well, hey, how did Brent do that? How can I do that? And that's really what we help them with first, is how to pay off those bad debts that we have. And then once the debts are paid off, they're like, okay, well, now I got all this money. What do I go do with this money? I just don't have the knowledge or the communities to go and talk to other people of where I can go and place this money to work. I want to invest in things that I like, know, and understand. And so, like, one of the things that we have that we really created from Chris Noggle is the Private Money Club. So, pmcprivatemoneyclub.com. And it's really like a match.com between borrowers and lenders. And so I was just going to ask you, like, in your area of raising that capital, are you going to RIAs, like meetups? Do you
Yep.
have these communities? Like, how are you finding those folks?
So I go to events and I just try to make friends.
Yeah.
because no one's going to invest with somebody that they don't know, right? And especially when you're looking at big investments or $50,000, $100,000 investments, you're going to make an investment not only that the numbers make sense, but it's with somebody that you've built a relationship with. So I just go to all these events and I try to make friends, and that's it. And if we become friends, and that I run these investments, and you're at a point in your life that you want to invest, you're going to reach out to me. And if not, then you won't. But I still got to make a friend, so it's always a win.
Yes. It's all about the relationships is what I learned more and
Yeah.
more. Because even me being a young girl, I mean, I'm in the Gen Z generation, right? And so, especially like in the financial world, oh my goodness, it's a dog eat dog world out here with everybody having their own ideas and philosophies around money. But at the end of the day, I was even just speaking to a gentleman earlier today, and I said, hey, I say this on my podcast show all the time. If you don't like me because of my vibe or whatever, at least just make sure that you're working with somebody that practices what they preach. And in this concept that we teach, the infinite banking concept, just make sure you're working with somebody that's an authorized IBC practitioner. But at the end of the day, I always learn more and more about people building relationships as I walk through this life and just having those organic conversations with people. And that's most of the time overlooked because let's be honest, people are lazy, right? They're lazy here in America sometimes.
And I think people try to skip that too many times, especially in real estate or investing. It becomes too transactional, where
Yes.
I've got a product, you could be a possible customer. I'm going to approach you as as someone trying to sell my product instead of just me being someone who's going to make friends with you. And maybe you want it, maybe you don't, but it's here because I'm here.
Yes. And I'm not going anywhere. Speaking of, actually, do you see yourself doing this forever and ever now?
I have no idea. Well, we'll see because, for me, um, I would have never expected to be here.
Yeah.
This kind of journey through life has really been opened up through relationships, like you were saying. And I found like when God opens a door and it really makes sense for me, I just run through it. When it came to the hedge funds, I had two opened in front of me. One was to be COO of this real estate company, which I really didn't want to do, but it fit my resume. It
Mhm.
fit my operations. It fit the fact that I was a CEO before. It fit real estate. Like it fit my resume, but I knew I didn't want to do it. But it was a good paying job. So I was like, well, should I consider this? And then this other one popped up and it said, well, that actually fits everything I'm already doing. I'm already going and speaking at events. I'm already like networking and going on podcasts and talking to people. That's what you have to do to raise capital.
Yeah.
That'll work out. So he opened a door and I just ran through it.
Yeah.
So I'm
And
not one to
finding,
guess what's going to come next.
yeah. No, and just finding something that you're passionate about. I mean, I can tell you one thing that I just totally let go of, and I've been working a lot on delegating. I'm not a good delegator, and I just feel like I need to have the control and manage everything. But one thing that is that a lot of our people who join, they're clients first, and then they really just find their passion about teaching this concept to other people. And then they come in and they're like, well, hey, how can I do this? How can I get paid to write policies and share this message to my community? And I've just gotten to the point that I'm like, y'all, it is just not my passion to build an agency, but I got people on my team who they like to manage people. They like to coach and on that training side of the actual business aspect of it. And you just got to find your strengths, and you need to hone in on those strengths and then delegate everything else is really what I'm learning
Yep.
here recently.
Work
So
your strengths, hide your weaknesses.
yes, yes. So now I know you have two little girls. They're how old
Yep.
now?
3 and 2.
Okay. What are you doing like when the talk about money? What are y'all doing with the talk right now about money in the family? I mean, are they still pretty young? It's not really coming
Yeah, I
up
mean,
or
we're just trying to teach our girls how to use the potty and read right now. We're talking about money. Um, you know, the only thing that I intentionally do every day with the girls is try to be silly with them. Like
Good.
no hold back and just try to be silly. I'm not worried about that part yet. But what has been cool is through all of our real estate stuff, when we were fixing up homes in Daytona, like they were with us. And that was a really, cool moment and feeling knowing that as I was like building benches in this house, they were right there with us. It was
Mhm.
great.
Yeah. And building the memories with them too. And the reason I was just thinking
Yeah.
about that question, because me personally, I don't have any children, not married. I got my two kitty cats who are my children, is what I say all the time. But I was down with Chris Noggle down in New Zealand for a little bit, and we actually recorded an episode talking about how he's teaching his young daughter Vivi, who she's 3 going on 4 now, and just playing with things about money and banking, and how he's really incorporating it into her toys that she's playing with. So I wanted to know from young parents kind of what they're doing there. And that kind of like brings me up to like another thing that I'm just thinking about. Like, do you now, because you went to college for a little bit, right? Or no, not at all, just
Yeah.
straight out of
No,
high
I
school.
I did the full, I went all the way. Like I did your full speed traditional route. So I went to a good college, got my MBA, got out of the military, did operations, worked my way up until I was executive. So everything they tell you you should do, I did. And then I quit and started my own business.
Yeah. Now, if your girls come to you and say, "Hey, I want to go to college," are you going to be there for that? Do you want them to do it, or maybe go down that path of the entrepreneurial world? I know it's up to them at the end of the day, but if you had that perfect plan for them, what would you see pan out?
There is no perfect plan because everybody was put on this earth to push the world forward in a way that's only unique to you. So I believe college is great if you want to do something specific, like if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, something that really requires it. If you want to enter the world of business, I'd rather you go and be a door-to-door salesman because you're going to learn sales faster there than anywhere else. And so whatever they want to do, I want to encourage it and kind of meet them with excitement because I think the one place that we fail sometimes as a society is just kind of telling people what they should and shouldn't do in their upbringing, understanding like these are good majors and these are bad majors. These are good things to study. These are bad things to study. Like all that should be thrown out when you understand that the most successful people in the world completely went against everything we say that you should and shouldn't do.
Mm-hmm. No, straight up. And you did door-to-door sales.
I did. I did. I did it. I did it after I got kicked out of college and found that I needed to find a job and figure life out. There's not a lot of places that'll hire you after you get kicked out of college and arrested. And so I was a door-to-door salesman for about a year before I enlisted in the military.
Yeah, yeah. And that probably taught you a lot of strong work ethic too.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, especially in business and entrepreneurship, you're going to have to do sales no matter what. It doesn't matter, what your product is or what you're pushing. Like you're going to do sales, you're going to run into a lot of no's, but there is nobody that receives more no's than a door-to-door salesman. And
Yeah.
so having that even to reach back on was great.
Yeah. Yeah. And just one thing that I really enjoyed about your hearing your story and your book too is the main themes that I kind of saw was forgiveness, forgiveness, and then also I would even maybe use the word like authenticity and hard work. I would kind of categorize that as the overall message from your book. And sometimes I just feel like, yeah, I mean, you can teach people that, but it's really a skill that you got to develop over the course of your life and just the hurdles that you got to go through and lessons that you learn. And so I guess my question is that when you're out there in your business lifestyle, because I say this too, there's 5 circles of life, and the whole objective is we really try to keep those 5 circles in balance with one another: the spiritual life, our family life, personal health and wellness, financial. And so when you're going out there in your business life, are you taking kind of the road of that authentic approach? And I think you kind of are from your other comment that you're saying of, "Hey, I don't care if you do business with me. At the end of the day, I made a new friend out of it all." Right?
And I don't think you're gonna have that successful of a business not being authentic. You're no matter what it is you're selling, if that's not you or it's not something you believe in, like no one's gonna buy it,
Yeah.
right? And so for me, I just try to be be myself. And if we connect, like you and I connected in San Diego, like we'll stay in touch and we'll reconnect. If we don't, awesome.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
met a guy on so you brought this up before the show. I did a Ironman Oceanside this weekend,
Uh-huh.
and I met a guy on the bike. Like we were both biking, and we struck up a conversation while we were biking this 56-mile bike. And it turns out he was an ambassador for Operation Rebound, where they try to shed light on, or they use sport to help veterans and amputees kind of get into life. And I was about it, and like really him and I had a great conversation. I said, let's connect after. And he memorized my phone number on the bike
Oh,
so
wow.
that we could connect later. And then him and I ended up talking on the phone so that I could figure out, okay, like how can I bring value to what you're doing because it's awesome. But it comes down to just being you, like you were saying, making those real connections. The business stuff will happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, and tell the community just real quick, if they don't know what Ironman is, what is that?
So a full Ironman is a 2.4 mile swim, a 112-mile bike, and then a marathon at the end, so which is 26.2 mile run. I did a half Ironman this past weekend, but I have done one full Ironman about a year and a half ago now.
Okay. And what makes you keep going back and doing them?
Um, For me, it really comes down to figuring out what I'm capable of. Like you were talking about these 5 circles of life, I think when you really break that down, when you want to grow, say, in your business life, you can't grow in your business life without pushing yourself to grow both physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. So the challenge that I come with is say, how do I grow in all of those aspects? Ironman was the one thing that really fit for me to be able to push myself to a level that I want to be as a father, as a husband, as a business owner. That's something that physically matches my ambition in those circles.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just sitting here because I've never done that. I'm not huge into, I'm not a big runner. I like to do my weightlifting every morning and stuff like that. But I'm just sitting here thinking, like, hey, if I'm going to be doing that for that many hours, you got a lot of time to think when you're biking and
Oh
running. And
yeah.
I, so like,
There's a space.
oh, go ahead.
I was just saying there's a space in there that I really love. Like when you are so mentally and physically exhausted and you still have to push forward, your mind becomes so clear because everyone else just disappears and it's just you.
Mm-hmm.
And you get the clearest picture of everything. And I love being in that mindset because I know myself well enough that I'm going to keep going. And so if you've accepted that you're going to keep going, you're going to finish. Well, now your mind just opens up to everything you want out of life, everything maybe you want out of business, out of love, whatever it is. You'll think about it during that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, and then also like when you get up every single day, like what's the first thing that you do?
Um, First thing is I'll drink a cup of greens and then I'll go work out.
Yeah, I love
But
it.
absolute first thing is yeah, let's start with greens and then go to the gym or go on the bike or whatever it is got going on that day. I like starting my day that way because if not, then the rest just feels really slow.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't get a workout during the day, then my work day feels slow. Then my interactions with my wife and kids feel slow. Like I feel tired all day. And
Mm.
so I tell my wife like I don't like having a slow start to the day.
Yeah, yeah. Are you an early morning riser?
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, yeah. Beating the
I'm
sun.
usually up. It's around 5-ish, maybe 4:30 sometimes.
Okay, okay. Oh, good. Because I've started to do this new thing in my life where I'll get up. and I'll beat the sun up. I feel like if I get that really good head start on my day, I have the me time, the quiet time before I get into my meetings and my phone calls. And even there's a gentleman on our team. His name is Jason Sipple. Jason does a lot of Ironmans as well, and he turned me on to this really cool YouTube video called Earthing. I think I'm
Okay.
pronouncing it right. And so he says, Hannah, but what you also got to do every single day is get outside and just take your shoes off and put your feet to the ground and really get reconnected with yourself and the world and God, and just go outside and just put your feet to the ground or lay down in the grass for 5-10 minutes and go back inside and go do X, Y, and Z. It doesn't matter. But that has really been helping me develop a clear head. Even sometimes, like I'll come into some issues where I can't figure out something, and so then I'll take a break for a second. I'll walk outside and I'll do that, taking my shoes off, and then okay, 10 minutes later I come back. I'm like, I got it. I know the answer now. I know how to handle this. So that's just some things I'm personally doing too on my little journey.
I've heard that before. I haven't looked into it myself, but a very good friend who I love and respect, is does that and finds it very valuable, grounding yourself with the earth again.
Yeah, yeah. So right now you have your funds that you're working on. How can the community know more about you and the funds that you're doing? Do you have a website or YouTube's podcast channels?
Yeah. I mean, the easiest way to get in touch with me is through Instagram, at justin.loutfy, but you also have a website, justinloutfy.com, and you always reach out. I'm always here.
Okay, good. And Lofty, Lofty, Justin Lofty.
Close. It's
Oh.
close. It's okay though. It's Egyptian, so it's not like Smith. That's what I was told the other day. I said, oh, just email me, justinlotfi@gmail, and someone's like, it's not like Smith. You need to spell that out. Um, but the last name's Lout, as in Tom, F as in Frank, Y.
Good, good. And I know you're out in California. Are you going to be out there for a little bit? Are you guys going to reside out there, raise the kids for a little
Yeah,
bit?
I don't see us moving. We have a lot of family here, and I love the sun. I've lived in cold places, and I'm not a fan, so I
Yeah.
don't see us moving.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and actually that gets me to thinking too, because I read in your book, you had some training where you were posted out in Colorado for a little bit, so I know how that can be.
Yeah, I lived in Colorado for almost 10 years.
Wow. All right. Anything that you want to leave with the community? Any nuggets or things that you're carrying on in your personal life or business life?
I'll leave you with the same thing I always do. It's that, understand that you're more than your resume. We spend so much time trying to perfect this one piece of paper that we try to fit our life into these keywords, but those keywords don't show the real things that you went through in life. Those keywords don't show like the single mom who's working and providing for her kids, or the person who paid their way through college, or someone who started their own business when they're 18. Like those things don't show on a resume, but so many people just get stuck into trying to fit their life into these different keywords and onto this one sheet of paper and saying, okay, this is everything I'm qualified to do. And it's not. You do so much more if you're willing to put the work in.
You gotta give yourself credit for too.
Yeah.
So, all right, man. Well, I appreciate you. One last thing I want to say is that are you going to be out there? It's in I'm going to butch the city. It's in Maryland, Annapolis, right? I think
Annapolis?
Annapolis. So, are you going to be at that next Veterans for Financial Freedom event?
Oh no, that's a Navy only thing. I told you I didn't join the Navy. They won't let me go to that one.
I love it. I love it. We have actually Jeremy Huggins and Landon, they're veterans, so they're going to be out there teaching on the infinite banking concept. So you folks out in Maryland, go into that event. I want to say it's at the beginning of April. If you go to our website, themoneymultiplier.com, underneath the resources tab, you can check out the events calendar. So go out there, see that event going on, and just other events that we have happening in the community. And then also too, little update for our 3-day live mastermind that I'm hosting in Nashville, Tennessee, The dates are October 10, 11, and 12. So you'll see here an email, and also on the social medias, we'll be talking about that more and more. But another 3-day live masterclass, the Money Multiplier, will be holding. So I hope to see y'all here in the future and in person. And you guys will see myself, Chris, Brent, Sandra. So everybody on the team is going to be out there, and I'm just excited for that event. So thank you y'all for tuning in. We're here every single week on Tuesdays. And if you need me, if you got questions, reach out to me. My email is Hannah spelled the same ways forwards and backwards, hannah@themoneymultiplier.com. And just let me know how I can help and serve you. And Justin, I appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you.